Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode at Smithsdale Farm. We're back to the cabin build after a little bit of time off whilst we went back to the UK to go and spend some time with family.
So we've come back, the temperatures have dropped a little bit, and so we're getting on with some more build work on the cabin. So this weekend what we're trying to do is put some supports in for the window. So we're putting some wooden struts underneath that can bear the weight of the window, and then hopefully some side pieces as well that will be able to strap the window into the side of the wall.
So getting the window in is one step closer to this little cabin being watertight and another step closer to us actually being able to move in.
We're Danny and Kate, and this is Paco. We recently bought 12 acres of land in the Spanish mountains. Follow the journey as two DIY novices with tons of enthusiasm but not quite as much know-how. Renovate a small stone barn into the tiny house of our dreams and bring the land back into full production. But first, before we rip the roof off our brand new home, we need somewhere to stay. Welcome to the Cabin Build series.
So we've put a top bar in, and then we've put 3 posts in, 3 pillar posts. At the moment they're only screwed into the bottom and not at the top. So what we're going to do here is put some wood to wood screws up at an angle in there, basically because we can't get into the back side of the metal to put a screw in and pull this wood nice and tight up to the metal frame. So in classic Danny Katie fashion, we don't have the right piece of wood to be able to put the side supports in. So the piece of wood we've got fits really nicely in the U shape. But what we've got here are C shapes. And so this piece of wood doesn't fit that way inside that C shape. So that means we've got another trip down to the hardware store to get another piece of wood. The majority of that one's okay.
This is why we meticulously check every piece of wood before we buy it, because some of them are actually really bent.
It's good, there's a big chunk of it, so I think I'd rather take that than bent one.
Another day, another shopping trip. You ever get deja vu? We're slowly learning more and more about the trees and identifying them, and this one is a male carob tree, and the reason we can tell that it's male is because it has all of the pollen but it doesn't have the new carobs growing, the flowering sections. As the pollen starts to mature, it opens up like this, and then pollinators would take this and use it to fertilise the female trees which have the little new growths on them. We've just been for a little bit of an explore on the land this morning to parts that we've not really got to before. It's a nice cool day, so we thought we'd take advantage of it. And we've seen this tree, which we have no idea what it is. We haven't seen anywhere else on the land. So if anybody knows what this is, whether it's edible or not, what kind of tree it is, whether these are fruits, I don't know. Can you tell us in the comments down below?
When we first got the land, we had come down here because we saw something on Google Earth and we wanted to know what it was. And when we got down here, we saw this bath thing, and beforehand we didn't know what it was and forgot about it. But last summer, I think it was, our neighbours were doing something with the Catalan TV, and they were showing about old methods of catching birds. And what they used to do is dig a trench like this and fill it with water, so the birds used to come in the summer and drink the water. And then what we've also seen behind us is it's like a little hideout. They're just in front of that little water bath place is this little stone structure which we had no idea what it was for. And now, having seen what the guys were doing up with TV3 up on our neighbour's place, it's a hideout. So the birds used to come down and drink the water here when there was no water elsewhere, and they used to have a little cage or a net or something set up here, and then he's got a hideout with a hole to look through, and then he will pull a piece of string and catch the bird. And actually inside there's an old chair from God knows how long ago, and a few bits and bats inside. So yeah, it was obviously used at some point, and it's funny that we found it when we were first here. I had no idea what it was, and having spent some time here talking to the neighbours and things, we now know what it is that we saw in the past and just forgot about.
We're still in the moonlight, it's something sweet. Let it wash over all of me. With you I form my company. Forever close to the unknown. There's no doubts and no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again.
So normally with these prefab windows, what you would do is have a little bracket piece which attaches to the metal here and then gets kind of cemented in or like mortared in to brickwork that surrounds it. Obviously, we're not installing this into brickwork, we're doing it into a steel frame. So what we're going to do is actually build a box frame that will go on the inside of the steel, and then that box frame will give us something to attach this metal directly to.
So we're thinking to have a windowsill on the bottom and then the box sidings. On the side we've got 2 centimetres either side. We just tested it with 18mm pieces, it fit very nicely. So we're thinking to have side pieces like that, 18mm that run up the side. We can then connect that to the metal frame and then the window to the wood easily. And then on the bottom we'll have another piece. It doesn't really matter how thick that is, but we'll probably go for the same thickness. And then we need a minimum of 13 centimetres for that, to include the plyboard and the cork on the outside, and then a little bit of space on the inside for some plasterboard. So as we're building the box frame out of wood, this is because we're not totally sure about metal framing. It's our first time with metal framing. So when it gets to a situation we don't really know how to do comfortably, we're kind of reverting back to wood, that we kind of know how strong it is, how to stick it together, or we've seen other people or family do DIY projects. But we went with the metal frame originally because it was a third of the cost of the wood. So there was a big cost saving by getting a metal frame, and also a big learning curve. But for some stuff we are diverting or reverting back to wood because we're a bit more comfortable with the strength it has and just how to work with it. So we woke up this morning to a little casualty. There's quite a lot of wind last night that we didn't know was coming, and so we'd not put this extra piece up, and basically it's just torn the membrane down here, but it should be okay. We'll just move it a few inches in and make sure we put some boarding on top, and that should keep it relatively in place and be okay. And the rest of it's okay. And there's the dog, and there's the Katie, and the rest of it's okay. And I think it's just come off because of the force of the wind, and we didn't have anything on top of it protecting it.
This morning we're going to get on with putting the window in first, because we think that's going to be the kind of biggest, most fiddly job. So we'll start with that first and then get on with more of the cladding. But for the first time we can actually clear out in here and get rid of all of the stuff that's on the floor and actually make a kind of clear working space. So we're going to do that first and then start on the window.
It's amazing when you walk, you move, tripping up over the rocks.
As always, we've forgotten something. This time it's the pencil, so back to the house.
Okay, just to go through the plan. So we've got the windowsill here. We're going to drill down through the wood, through the metal, into the other piece of wood on 4 spots. And then we're going to stand the sides on top of that and screw those into the metal directly. We've bought a piece of wood that should go on the other side so we can sandwich it, and hopefully that's pretty strong. And then we'll mount the window. So we'll then put the window on top. It says in the instructions to put a bead of silicone down underneath, so we'll do that. You can let us know if that's how it's supposed to be done or not, and this is the first time for me ever putting a window in, so any comments will be helpful for when we actually do the house. Okay, we've done a dry fit. We're fairly happy. The wood fits in really nicely without much of a gap. We have seen people putting insulation between the window and this like wooden framing. There's no gap for us to do that, so we won't be doing that. Maybe just some silicone seal. The problem we have come across is the screws. So we bought 4.5 centimetre screws. We've written down 3.5 centimetres, so we thought we got a centimetre into this piece of wood here. In the end, the gap behind the window is 4 centimetres. These are 4.5, but also they count the drill bit for the metal as part of the length of the screw. So in reality, we've got none inside the wood. So we're going to go see if we can pilot a hole in through the metal, and then see if we've got some wood screws that will be able to go in that are long enough.
So we've just screwed in these framing pieces to the outside, and then we've also put a couple of little marks like this one here, here and down here as well, so that we know where we're going to attach the window. We wanted to just make it super clear that we weren't going to put a screw in a place that we needed to put a screw afterwards, so we've got those little bits on there. So now it's just a case of pilot holing everything and then getting ready to install the window. Goes the middle. How do we install the window? What are you doing there? Now that we've done the window, we're going to do some more of the cladding on the outside. So we showed in our last video putting the first side on, where we've put this membrane, and then we're using the MDF, and then there's going to be cork on the outside. So I'll put a link in the description down below to that video, and you can go back and watch that one and see kind of the full description of what we're doing and how we're installing it. So for now, we're just trying to get as much of this wall done as we can, and we'll see where we get to.
So apologies for the wind, it's a windy day today. So that's the window in, and then this is the wall we were putting up as well. So inside starting to take the shape of an actual building now, which is quite nice. Flat surface to work on and cut, which is also very nice. So we're just going to wrap round and leave it for the week.
So that's where we're going to leave it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope that you enjoyed watching us install the window into our little cabin. And in the next video, we're going to be putting in the door. For now, we're just going to enjoy a little walk in the mountains, and we'll see you on the next one.